My girlfriend called me her charity case in group chats for months, so I posted the screenshots. Her family tried to destroy my life, but it backfired spectacularly. Hey everyone. So this happened last Friday, and I'm still trying to process the whole thing. I'm 23 male, a pre-med student, and I work part-time at my dad's auto shop to help pay for school. Nothing fancy, but it keeps me busy and pays the bills. Been dating this girl Brittany, 22 female, for about 10 months now, and up until Friday I thought we had something real going. Brittany studies communications at our university, and she's got like 12,000 followers on Instagram. She's one of those girls who's always perfectly put together, you know? Her family's loaded too, like serious money. They bought her a brand new BMW for her 21st birthday, and she's never had to work a day in her life. I'm talking trust fund, daddy's credit card, the whole deal. Anyway, Friday afternoon, I'm at the shop helping my dad with this transmission rebuild when my phone buzzes. Text from Jenny, who's one of Brittany's friends from her little social circle. Now, Jenny and I have maybe talked 3 times total in the 10 months I've been with Brittany, so getting a random text from her was definitely weird. Hey Charles, I need to show you something. Can you call me when you're free? I figured maybe it was about planning something for Brittany's birthday next month, or some group thing they were organizing. You know how girls are with their elaborate plans and stuff, so I called her during my lunch break, thinking this would be quick. Jenny picked up on the second ring, and she sounded nervous as hell. Like really nervous. Her voice was all shaky and she kept pausing. Look, Charles, I don't know if I should be doing this, but you seem like a decent guy and you don't deserve what's happening. My stomach immediately dropped. You know that feeling when someone says something like that and you just know your world's about to get flipped upside down? That's exactly what happened. What do you mean? I asked, even though part of me didn't want to know. Brittany's been talking about you in our group chat. Really horrible stuff, for months. I finally screenshot some of it because I couldn't watch this anymore. Before I could even respond, my phone started buzzing with message after message. Jenny was sending me screenshots. A lot of them. I'm talking like 20 different screenshots spanning back months. I'm sitting in my car in the shop parking lot, reading through months of my girlfriend absolutely destroying me to her friends. And honestly, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. This wasn't just casual complaining or venting. This was straight up cruel shit. Charles is so pathetic with his little mechanic job, lol. Like imagine being proud of working with your hands. I'm literally just using him until daddy finds me someone more appropriate. He thinks we're building a future together, but he's just my charity case. He's so beneath me it's not even funny. Like I'm doing community service dating him. But the ones that really got me were where she'd screenshot my text to her and post them in the group chat to make fun of them. You know those sweet messages you send when you're thinking about someone? The kind where you tell them how much they mean to you? How lucky you feel to be with them? She was taking those private moments and turning them into entertainment for her friends. All her friends would respond with crying, laughing emojis and stuff like, "Stop," and "You're so bad," but they were all eating it up. They thought this shit was hilarious. The worst one, the one that really made me sit there for a minute, was this. The best part is he actually thinks someone like me could love someone like him. Babe, you're a social experiment at this point. A social experiment. 10 months of my life. 10 months of thinking I was building something real with someone who actually cared about me, and to her I was just a fucking social experiment. I must have sat in that parking lot for 20 minutes, just staring at my phone, scrolling through message after message. The dates went back to like month 2 of our relationship. This wasn't some recent thing where maybe she was having doubts. She'd been talking shit about me almost the entire time we'd been together. Jenny called me back while I was still processing everything. I'm really sorry, Charles. I know this probably hurts, but I thought you needed to know who she really is. Why are you telling me this? I asked. My voice sounded weird, like it was coming from someone else. Because she talks shit about all of us too when we're not around. And because you actually seem like a good person, and you deserve way better than being someone's charity project. That's when something just clicked in my brain. I wasn't angry, which surprised me. I wasn't heartbroken either. I was just done. Like completely and totally done with this whole situation. For 10 months, I'd been bending over backwards for this girl, driving her everywhere because she didn't like taking her car places, paying for expensive dinners when she'd conveniently forget her wallet, listening to her complain about everything while trying to be supportive. And the whole time she was laughing about it with her friends. She wanted to play games? Fine. But I wasn't going to be the one losing anymore. I thanked Jenny for showing me and told her I appreciated her looking out for me. Then I hung up and just sat there for a minute, planning my next move. See? Here's the thing about being underestimated. People think because you're quiet or because you don't come from money or because you work with your hands that you're stupid. that you won't fight back, that you'll just take whatever they dish out and be grateful for it. They're about to find out how wrong they are. So I drove home from the shop with my head spinning, but also this weird sense of clarity I hadn't felt in months. Like when you finally understand something that's been bothering you, but you couldn't put your finger on what it was. All those times Brittany made me feel like I wasn't good enough. All those little comments that seemed like jokes but stung anyway. Now I knew exactly what was behind them. I got back to my apartment around 6 p.m., and Tyler, my roommate, was already there making some ramen. Normal Friday night for us, since neither of us had the money to be going out to bars every weekend like some of the other guys. Yo, Brittany's been blowing up your phone, he said, without looking up from his pot. Like, seriously. She called the apartment phone twice asking if you were here. I looked at my cell, and sure enough, 3 missed calls and a bunch of texts. She was probably wondering why I hadn't responded to her dinner plans yet. See, Brittany always planned our Friday night dinners, and she always picked expensive places. Like really expensive. The kind of places where an appetizer costs more than I usually spend on groceries for a week. Her texts were typical Brittany. Babe, where are you? I made us reservations at that new sushi place downtown for 8 p.m. Charles, answer your phone. I need to know if you can pick me up at 7:30. I just stared at these messages for a minute. This girl had been calling me her charity case behind my back for months, and here she was expecting me to drop everything, drive across town to get her, and drop probably $150 on dinner. The audacity was actually impressive. But instead of texting her back, I had a better idea. I opened up the screenshots Jenny had sent me and found the worst one. The message where she called me her charity case and said dating me was like doing community service. Screenshot that bad boy and posted it to my Instagram story with the caption, "Well, this is awkward." Now, I don't usually post drama on social media. I'm not really that type of guy. My Instagram is mostly just pictures of cars I work on at the shop and maybe some stuff from hanging out with the boys. But this felt different. This felt like something people needed to see. Within like 5 minutes, my story had 30 views, which for me is a lot since I only have maybe 200 followers. But then I started getting DMs and comments, and I could see people were screenshotting it and sending it around. Tyler looked over at me from the kitchen. Dude, what's got you grinning like that? I showed him my phone. His eyes got wide as he read the screenshot. Holy shit, man. Brittany wrote this about you. That's not even the worst one, I said, and showed him a few more. Tyler just kept shaking his head. So what are you gonna do? That's when I opened up Venmo. See, I'd been keeping mental track of all the money Brittany owed me, but I'd never actually written it down or asked for it back because I didn't want to seem cheap or petty. But now I was feeling pretty fucking petty. I started typing up the most detailed payment request of my life. I added every single time this girl had used me as her personal ATM. Every dinner where she conveniently forgot her purse. Every time she needed gas money and promised to pay me back later. Every utility bill she should have helped with after practically living at my place half the week. Every random expense she somehow made my problem. Tyler was watching over my shoulder and laughing his ass off. Dude, you're really itemizing everything? She wanted to treat me like a business transaction, so I'm giving her a business transaction. The total came to $1,205 that I'd basically given to someone who thought of me as charity work. In the memo section, I wrote, "Charity case final bill. Payment due immediately." And then I sent it. My phone started buzzing immediately. Like immediately. Brittany was calling. I didn't answer. She called again. Still didn't answer. Then the text started coming in fast. Charles, what is wrong with you? Delete that story right now. You're being a complete psycho. People are screenshot it and sending it to me. Delete it now or I'm coming over. I screenshot those texts and posted them to my story too with the caption, "When the bill comes due." But I wasn't done. See, the thing about being someone's dirty little secret charity case is that once you stop playing along, they lose all their power over you. So I went full nuclear. I blocked Brittany on Instagram, then Snapchat, then TikTok, then I blocked her number. But here's the genius part. I blocked her on Venmo after I sent the payment request, so she could still see it but couldn't message me back or decline it. She was completely cut off from me in under an hour. No way to contact me, no way to control what people were seeing, no way to do damage control. All she could do was watch her carefully crafted social media image blow up in real time. My Instagram story views were climbing fast. 50, then 80, then over 100. People were sharing it, tagging their friends, commenting on it. My DMs were starting to fill up with messages from people I barely knew. Yo, Charles, I can't believe she said that about you. Dude, you're handling this perfectly. She's always acted like she was better than everyone. Even some girls were messaging me, which was unexpected. You deserve so much better than her. Can't believe she was using you like that. This is actually really sad. I'm sorry she did this to you. Tyler came back over with 2 drinks and handed me one. So what now? I took a long drink and smiled. Now we wait and see how deep she wants to dig this hole. My phone kept buzzing with notifications. Story views, DMS, people commenting and sharing. It was like watching a fire spread, except this time I wasn't trying to put it out. For the first time in months, I felt like I was in control of my own life instead of just reacting to whatever Brittany wanted. She'd been playing games with me for 10 months, making me feel small and grateful just to be with her. Well, game over. My turn now. Saturday morning, I woke up to absolute chaos. And I mean chaos. My phone had been buzzing all night, and when I finally checked it around 9 a.m., I had like 150 notifications. Instagram, Snapchat, texts from numbers I didn't even recognize. The whole thing had blown up way bigger than I expected. Tyler was already up making coffee, and he looked at me with this huge grin. Bro, you need to see this shit. You're famous. I stumbled over to the kitchen, and he showed me his phone. Someone had taken screenshots of my story and posted it on TikTok with that sound that goes, "She belongs to the streets," and it already had like 2,000 views. Dude, you broke the internet, Tyler said, handing me a cup of coffee. Look at this. He showed me the anonymous confession page for our university. Someone had posted the whole story there, and it was getting hundreds of comments. People were sharing their own stories about Brittany being fake or stuck up. Others were talking about rich girls who think they're doing guys favors by dating them. I scrolled through my Instagram DMs and honestly couldn't believe what I was seeing. I had messages from like 60 different people. Some were from guys I barely knew. Bro, you dodged a bullet with that one. Always knew she was fake as hell. King behavior, honestly, respect. She had it coming. Everyone knows she thinks she's better than everyone. But what really surprised me were the messages from girls. Like a lot of girls. Some were from Brittany's friend group. Charles. I'm so sorry, I had no idea she was saying those things. She talks shit about all of us too. This doesn't surprise me. You always seemed like such a nice guy. You deserve better. Others were from random girls around campus. I can't believe she was using you like that. You seem like a really genuine person. Want to get coffee sometime? You deserve someone who appreciates you. That last type of message was interesting. I wasn't really thinking about dating anyone else yet, but it was nice to know that not everyone thought I was just some charity case. But the real entertainment was watching Brittany's world fall apart in real time. See, here's what I didn't expect. When you expose someone for talking shit about their boyfriend, people start wondering what they say about everyone else. And apparently Jenny had a lot more screenshots than just the ones about me. I was watching this all unfold from my couch, drinking coffee and honestly having the time of my life. Tyler kept showing me new posts and comments as they came in. Someone had started a hashtag number charity case that was trending on our campus anonymous pages. The best part came around 4 p.m. when I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. Hey Charles, this is Mason, Brittany's brother. We need to talk. I showed Tyler and he just shook his head. Oh shit. Here comes the cavalry. See, I'd heard about Mason before. Mason. Brittany mentioned him sometimes throughout our relationship, usually when she was complaining about something and wanted to bring up how her big brother would handle it. He was like 2 years older, went to some fancy private university about 3 hours away. The whole rich boy athlete thing. From what I gathered listening to her stories, he was used to being the big man on campus wherever he went and had spent most of his life solving his little sister's problems for her. I'd never actually met the guy, but from Brittany's descriptions, he sounded like every entitled rich kid athlete stereotype rolled into one person. Probably used to intimidating people with his size and his family's money. Never had anyone tell him no in his entire life. That whole deal. What about? I texted back, even though I had a pretty good idea where this conversation was headed. About you embarrassing my family online. This ends today. I stared at that message for a minute. Here we go, I thought. Big brother's coming to clean up little sister's mess, just like he probably had dozens of times before. Except this time he was dealing with someone who wasn't going to fold just because some rich kid showed up trying to flex. I didn't respond right away. Let him stew for a bit while I figured out my next move. My phone buzzed again about 10 minutes later, with another message from Mason. I'm coming over tomorrow. We're going to settle this like men. I almost laughed at that last part. Settle this like men. What did that even mean? Was he planning to challenge me to a duel or something? The whole thing sounded like dialogue from some bad movie about prep school bullies. For months, I'd felt like I was always trying to be good enough for someone who thought I was beneath her. Now she was the one scrambling to do damage control while I just sat back and watched her world burn. Best Saturday night I'd had in months. Sunday morning around 11 a.m. I'm sitting at my kitchen table eating some cereal and scrolling through all the new comments on my posts when there's this loud knock at my door. Not like a normal knock either. This was the kind of aggressive pounding that immediately puts you on edge. Tyler had gone to his girlfriend's place Saturday night, so I was alone in the apartment. I looked through the peephole and saw this massive dude standing outside. I knew exactly who it was before I even opened the door. "I'm Mason, Brittany's brother," he said the second I cracked it open. "We need to talk." Here's the thing about guys like Mason. They're used to people being intimidated by them. They walk through life expecting everyone to back down just because they're big and their family has money. But I've been working in auto shops since I was 16, dealing with all kinds of people, and I've learned that the loudest guys are usually the ones with the most to prove. He pushed past me into my apartment without being invited, which was a real dick move, but exactly what I expected from someone in his family. My place isn't anything fancy. Basic college apartment with secondhand furniture and car parts scattered around. But he looked around like he was touring a crack house. "Nice place," he said, and you could hear the sarcasm dripping off every word. "What do you want?" He got right up in my face, trying to use his height advantage to intimidate me. "I want you to stop embarrassing my sister online like some kind of psycho. What you did yesterday was completely messed up." "What I did?" "Your sister called me her charity case for months and mocked me to her friends. I just showed people her own words." "That's bullshit and you know it. Those messages were taken out of context. Girls talk differently in private. You violated her privacy because you couldn't handle getting dumped." I almost laughed at that. Dumped? Dude, I broke up with her. And there's no context that makes calling someone a social experiment okay. Mason stepped even closer, close enough that I could smell his expensive cologne. "Here's what's gonna happen. You're gonna delete everything you posted. You're gonna apologize to my sister publicly. And you're gonna pay her back for all the emotional damage you caused." "Pay her back?" "She owes me over $1,200. His face twisted into this ugly smirk. "That's chump change to us. But what you did to her reputation, that's gonna cost you." "Or what?" That's when his whole demeanor changed. The fake friendly act dropped, and I saw exactly what kind of person he really was. His voice got low and threatening as he started explaining how he could make my life very difficult. Said it would be a shame if something happened to mess with my income at the auto shop, or if medical school admissions committees started hearing bad things about me. I kept my voice calm even though my heart was racing. Asked him if he was threatening me. He said he was just explaining how the real world works, that his family had connections I couldn't imagine, and one word from them could make my future disappear. They knew people at every medical school in the state. The way he said it was so casual, like ruining people was just something his family did when they didn't get their way. That's when I had an idea that probably saved my ass. I pulled out my phone real casual-like, pretending to check the time, but I actually started recording. "What are you doing?" Masons asked, noticing the phone. "Nothing," I said, angling it so the camera was pointing at him. "So just to be clear, you're threatening to sabotage my job and my education if I don't apologize to your sister for posting her own words?" His eyes narrowed when he realized what I was doing. "Turn that shit off." "Nah, I think I'll keep it rolling. This is good stuff. Rich families sending their muscle to threaten people who expose their daughter's behavior. The internet's gonna love this." Mason tried to grab my phone, but I stepped back quick. I've got decent reflexes from working on cars and dodging falling parts. I wouldn't do that if I were you. "Assault's a felony and this is all being recorded." "You little piece of shit!" he snarled, but he didn't try to grab it again. "Do you have any idea who my father is? Some rich jerk who raised a daughter that uses people and a son who threatens college students?" "Yeah, I'm getting the picture." Mason stood there for a second, clearly not used to people talking back to him. You could see him trying to figure out his next move. He was probably used to people folding the second he mentioned his family's money and connections. "This isn't over," he finally said, heading toward the door. He slammed the door behind him hard enough to rattle the whole frame. I immediately saved the video to my cloud storage and sent copies to Tyler and Jenny. Insurance policy in case the Patterson family decided to escalate things even further. About 20 minutes after Mason left, my phone started ringing. Unknown number again, but this time I was ready for it. "Charles, this is Brittany's mom. I believe you met my son today." Her voice was ice cold. Like, scary cold. This wasn't some emotional mom trying to protect her daughter. This was a woman who was used to getting exactly what she wanted through intimidation and power plays. "Yeah, he stopped by to threaten me. Real charming kid you raised there." She claimed her son was just trying to have a civilized conversation and that I wasn't being reasonable. I pointed out that her daughter treated me like garbage for months and her son just threatened my career. How was that reasonable? Her voice got even colder as she laid out the threats. Her husband sits on the university board and could make my financial aid disappear with one call. Another call, and no medical school would touch me. Said her family had connections everywhere, and I was just another broke student they could make disappear. When I asked if she was also threatening me, she called it explaining reality. Remove the posts, apologize publicly, or find out what happens when you cross the wrong family. She hung up before I could respond, but I was grinning by the time the call ended. These people really thought they could just threaten their way out of everything. I immediately posted the video of Mason threatening me with the caption, "When rich families send their kids to intimidate you," and screenshots of the threats about my financial aid and medical school applications. That post exploded faster than anything I'd posted yet. Within an hour, it had 500 views, 200 comments, and people were sharing it everywhere. Students were furious about wealthy families trying to silence people with threats. The campus newspaper picked up the story. Someone started a petition against rich families using influence to cover up their children's behavior. The comments were incredible. This is exactly what's wrong with higher education. Rich kids think they can do whatever they want. The audacity of threatening someone's future over this. Post this everywhere. People need to see how these families operate. But the real entertainment came when I realized her family was starting to panic. Throughout the day, I noticed several of their social media accounts had gone private or been deactivated entirely. Mason's Instagram disappeared completely. Brittany stopped posting for the first time in months. Around 4 p.m., there was another knock at my door. This time, I checked the peephole carefully before opening it, half expecting another family member to show up with threats. Instead, I saw Brittany standing there alone. She looked absolutely terrible. Hair messy, no makeup, eyes red and puffy, like she'd been crying for hours. This was not the put-together Instagram princess I'd been dating for 10 months. This was someone whose carefully constructed world had completely fallen apart in the span of 4 days. "Charles, please, can I just have 5 minutes?" I opened the door, but didn't invite her in. Part of me felt bad seeing her like that. But then I remembered 10 months of being treated like I should be grateful for her attention, while she mocked me behind my back. "What do you want, Brittany? I want this to stop. The threats, the posts, all of it. My family, they're trying to help, but they're making everything worse." She wasn't wrong about that. Every move her family made just generated more negative attention and proved exactly what kind of people they were. I never wanted them to threaten you or try to get you in trouble at school. That's not what I wanted. What did you want? For me to just quietly accept being your charity case forever? I was stupid, okay? Those messages. I was just trying to sound cool to my friends. I didn't mean any of it. I pulled out the printed itemized bill I'd been working on all weekend. "Here, I'm not your charity case anymore. Consider this your final evaluation." She stared at the paper like she couldn't process what she was seeing. The itemized list went on for 2 full pages, with dates and amounts for everything. "You're seriously going to charge me for dates? For times I stayed over? You seriously thought you could mock me for months while taking my money, and there wouldn't be consequences?" That's when her fake remorse disappeared, and I saw the real Brittany one last time. She crumpled up the bill and threw it at my feet. "Fine. You want to know the truth? You were charity. You were pathetic and desperate, and I felt sorry for you. At least I gave you a chance when no one in your league would even look at you twice." There it was. Even with her world falling apart, even after her family's threats had backfired spectacularly, she still couldn't help but show exactly who she really was, underneath all the fake apologies. "Thanks for proving my point one last time," I said. "Now everyone knows exactly what kind of person you are. My family's going to destroy you. You have no idea what you've started." I closed the door and watched through the peephole as she stood there for a minute before finally walking away. That was the last time I saw Brittany in person. Thursday morning brought the news I'd been waiting for. Brittany had officially withdrawn from the university and was transferring to a school in another state. According to Jenny, she couldn't handle the constant reminders of how badly she'd messed up her own life. The girl who'd spent 10 months making me feel like I should be grateful for her attention was running away from the consequences of her own actions. Meanwhile, I was getting interview requests from news stations wanting to talk about standing up to intimidation and the importance of holding people accountable regardless of their family's wealth. Sometimes the trash really does take itself out. You just have to be patient and let it happen. 2 days after Brittany showed up at my door with her threats about her family destroying me, I found out she wasn't bluffing. Her family decided to go full nuclear. And honestly, it was the biggest mistake they could have made. It started Thursday morning when I got an email from the Dean of Students' office. My financial aid was being reviewed due to concerning reports about my conduct. No details, just that I needed to schedule a meeting immediately to discuss my academic standing at the university. Then my dad called from the shop. Someone had called in an anonymous tip to the EPA claiming we were illegally disposing of motor oil and other hazardous materials. Environmental Protection Agency shows up for a surprise inspection of a small family auto shop? That doesn't happen unless someone with serious connections makes a phone call. But they weren't done. Tyler came home that afternoon looking pissed as hell. His girlfriend had been approached by someone claiming to be from the campus newspaper, asking questions about my history of aggressive behavior toward female students, and whether I'd ever been inappropriate with anyone. That's when I realized her family wasn't just trying to scare me anymore. They were actively trying to destroy my life through whatever channels their money could buy. Financial aid, family business, reputation. They were hitting everything at once. The breaking point came Friday, when I got a call from the medical school I'd already been accepted to. My acceptance was being reconsidered based on new information about my character that had come to their attention. They wouldn't say what information or who provided it, but the timing wasn't exactly subtle. I was sitting in my apartment staring at my phone, watching months of hard work potentially disappear because some rich family couldn't handle their daughter getting exposed for her own words. Tyler was pacing around talking about getting lawyers involved, but lawyers cost money I didn't have. That's when I realized something. They had made one crucial mistake in their little campaign of destruction. They'd underestimated exactly how much documentation I had of their behavior, and they'd forgotten that the internet never forgets. I spent Friday night putting together what I called my insurance package. Every screenshot, every recording, every threat, every intimidation attempt, all of it organized chronologically with dates, times, and context. But I didn't stop there. I reached out to every person who'd contacted me after the original story went viral. Reporters, lawyers who'd offered help, other students with similar experiences, advocacy groups that dealt with wealthy family intimidation tactics. I told them what was happening and asked if they were still interested in the story. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Turns out when a wealthy family starts actually following through on their threats against a college student, that's not just internet drama anymore. That's a real news story about abuse of power and institutional corruption. Monday morning, I walked into that dean's office with a lawyer who'd volunteered to represent me pro bono, a reporter from the state's largest newspaper, and a representative from a student advocacy group that specialized in cases like mine. I also brought printed copies of every piece of evidence I had, documenting the Patterson family's campaign against me. The dean went from smug and dismissive to panicked in about 30 seconds. Turns out, we received concerning reports sounds a lot less official when you have to explain it to a lawyer and a journalist, especially when the student sitting across from you has recordings of the family making those reports threatening his education months earlier. By Tuesday, the EPA had completed their inspection of my dad's shop and found zero violations. They also confirmed that the anonymous tip had come from someone with detailed knowledge of environmental regulations, basically admitting that it wasn't some concerned citizen, but someone who knew exactly how to weaponize the system. The next day brought the best news of all. The medical school not only reinstated my acceptance, but issued a public statement about external pressure that had been brought to bear regarding my application. They made it clear that they don't bow to wealthy donors trying to influence admissions decisions, and that my acceptance was based purely on merit. Her family tried damage control, but it was way too late. Their lawyer released a statement claiming they were just concerned parents, trying to protect their daughter from harassment, but nobody was buying it when the evidence clearly showed a coordinated campaign of retaliation. Her dad was forced to resign from 3 different boards when the organizations decided his family's behavior was incompatible with their values. Her mom's charity work dried up overnight when other wealthy families distanced themselves to avoid guilt by association. Mason lost his law school acceptance permanently and got kicked out of his current university for conduct detrimental to the institution. Turns out schools don't like being associated with students who make national news for threatening people. But Brittany got the worst of it. The transfer school she'd run away to saw the news coverage and decided they didn't want that kind of publicity either. She got quietly asked to leave and suddenly found herself with no university willing to accept her. Her social media presence completely imploded. The original charity case screenshots were being shared millions of times as part of news articles about entitled rich kids. Her name became permanently associated with using people and thinking money could solve any problem. 3 weeks after the national story broke, I got a text from an unknown number that I immediately recognized as Brittany. "Are you happy now?" You've destroyed my entire life over some stupid messages. Tyler found me that night playing video games and grinning like an idiot. You know what the best part of all this is? He asked. What's that? You didn't have to do anything except refuse to be their victim. They destroyed themselves trying to destroy you. He was right. Every move the Patterson family made just proved exactly what kind of people they were. Every threat, every intimidation attempt, every abuse of power just gave me more evidence to document their behavior. 6 months later, I'm starting medical school with a full scholarship. My dad's business is busier than ever because the story brought him so much positive publicity, and I'm dating someone who thinks the whole thing was badass instead of embarrassing. Her family? Last I heard, they'd moved to another state where hopefully nobody knows their name yet. Brittany's social media accounts are all deactivated. Mason is working at some dead-end job while trying to figure out what to do with his life now that law school is off the table. The whole experience taught me that bullies only have power if you let them. The second you start documenting their behavior and refusing to be intimidated, they usually end up destroying themselves. Sometimes when people threaten to destroy you, the best response is to smile and let them try. Especially when you've got everything recorded and a whole internet full of people who hate entitled assholes.